All right, we are on the air, ladies and germs. Um, Feels like it's been a long time since I made a video, and it has. Well, I made one yesterday, but yeah, I kind of haven't made that many videos recently. Um, but no one has commented on my previous videos to notice, so apparently you guys don't care about me. Uh, that, hang on. All right. Anyways, I got over it. Uh, I want to talk about. I just released an app, so if you're a fan of the channel, you may be aware that I build apps for this CRM, and I have a few apps that I've built, and I just came out with my most recent one, and it kind of flopped, and I wanted to talk about why it flopped, and then also what I'm gonna do moving forward. Um, and hopefully you heeded this warning here. You should watch this video sped up. So what I did is I created a map called Map, basically. So this is what it looks like, and basically it pulls in all your contacts from high level, and you can view them all on a map. You can see all the opportunities per contact, and you can kind of see what stage they are, and they're colored, and it's cool, right? But the thing kind of in the back of my mind this whole time while I was building this app is, I don't really know what problem this solves. And surprise, surprise, when I released it, crickets, dude. My last app, maybe not my last app, but I had an app that I built, and I released it, and I got like 10, 20 installs in the first like 48 hours. And I think it's been 24 hours since I released this. I've gotten one install. So it's a flop. I mean, maybe I'll make a couple $100 a month in revenue, but that's not really the goal. So yeah, basically a flop. And it's funny because my first couple or few apps did pretty well. I mean, they pretty quickly got to like $500 in revenue, in monthly revenue. And yeah, dude, I remember just having that come out, like releasing that app and just having it do well and be like, yo, I'm so fucking good at this, dude. Damn, I've got the golden touch. Turns out I don't have the golden touch. You know, there's a thing called luck. And in some cases, it's not luck. It's just fucking thinking about what you do. So I wanted to talk about a few different topics. And let me say, I love that Figma doesn't save the default that I set. So I want to do medium, and then I like having it bolded. And I guess it saves that. It doesn't save the bolded part, but it would be nice, you know? Anyways. So what we're going to talk about is kind of finding and validating an idea, because I'm working on finding my next idea. I'm going to validate the motherfucking shit out of it. And yeah, that's basically it. So there's 4 steps to this, as I've determined. So the first one is find a problem. All right. So find a problem that you really kind of are interested in, that you'll be able to tell if you're actually solving that problem. And this can be kind of broad, okay? Because what I've decided is my how do you do a mind map, dude? I'm not a Figma expert, man. Mind map. Give me that shit. All right. Oh, for God's sake. Stand by. See, this is why I told you to watch this video sped up. So, what we have is my problem is client retention for agencies. And of course, now it's actually following the font that I want. But my problem that I like to focus on is client retention. And so what I found is this boils down to a few key kind of things or ideas. So one of those is, let's say, client agency relationship. Okay? So you need to have a good relationship with your clients so that they feel kind of, this might come off sounding wrong, but they kind of feel attached to you, or dependent on you, or essentially there's a problem of someone comes along to your client and makes them a better offer. Hey, your agency right now is only getting you, a 5x return on your ad spend. I'll make you 10x. Here's the offer, blah blah blah, and they'll just take your client right out from under you. And so basically client poaching, that's a problem. People lose clients to that. Another thing is lack of results. So if your clients aren't getting results from, the work that you're doing for them, that's going to make them want to leave. And then I forgot about this, but kind of poor product market fit. So this is after you've closed a client, but if your product doesn't really kind of solve problems in a way that your client likes it, if it's kind of too much work, or if it's kind of clunky or whatever, like an example might be if you're generating leads for clients, but they have to call the leads and they have to follow up a shit ton, like you can lose clients where they're like, God, this is too much work. I'd rather just not do this. That can cause churn. And then another example would be, so let's go too much work. And then how the hell do I, how do you add some, so too much work, or it could be bad UX. So like if you're selling like a software, like a SaaS agency, it could be just a bad user experience where it's confusing or hard to use and annoying, and they're like, wow, I could go, I could use something else. Like some other scheduling. I could use Jobber instead of this software. And that kind of relates to this idea as well here. So I'll just put that really light here. But in terms of lack of results, there's a lot of things that I actually found here. So what we have is, all right, firstly, can't generate leads, okay? So if you can't generate leads for your clients, they're not going to get results. If you do generate leads, but the leads aren't qualified, you're not going to generate results. If the leads are qualified, but client doesn't call them, you're not going to get results. Client can't close them. You kind of get the idea. There's a lot of different steps here that lead to poor results when it comes to what the fuck I'm talking about. All right. So this is kind of my problem that I'm focusing on. And then what you can do is, after you find a problem that you're interested in, and I think client retention is kind of my main focus, but it'll kind of have to attack essentially a subset of these problems. One of them to start, or just a few, or just a certain branch here. Like, you want to choose something kind of specific, because look, if I were to choose like, all right, I want to make it easier for agencies to sell, that's kind of a hard problem, because I don't have an agency. I don't sell stuff right now directly to like marketing agency clients, so I wouldn't be able to test it easily. I would have to go find someone who's willing to work with me and kind of get them to test it, and it's kind of a slower feedback cycle, and I don't know exactly what to build. And so it's easier when you have a problem that you've had either currently or in the past, and kind of what a good solution would look like. So once you've done that, once you've picked a problem, then you can brainstorm ideas, okay? And so ideas are essentially a solution to that problem, okay? And this should probably actually be number 2. So then you can brainstorm ideas, and once you've brainstormed ideas, this is my kind of idea here, is talk to ICPs. So ICP, if you're not aware, is ideal customer profile, something along those lines. But essentially, these are people who you want to sell to, who your product could help, or who have this problem that you're focusing on, and you want to talk to them. And specifically in my case, I'm doing this in 2 stages. So I'll just show you. Talk to or post and get deposits. So later on, after I do this step right here, then I'm going to move on and I'm going to talk about this idea more, and I'm going to actually start taking deposits. But back to this. I'm going to talk to my basically like friends that I know who have this problem, and I'm going to see, I'm going to just be completely transparent because I'm not trying to sell them anything at this point. In fact, if I tried to sell them something, I would be doing myself a disservice. The point is really to see what they think would be the best, okay? Because ultimately, if you can just get more kind of eyes on a problem, especially people who have that problem, then you're going to get kind of a better overview. So I'm going to talk to these friends, and I'm going to say, all right, here's the problem that I'm focusing on. Do you have this problem? How are you solving this problem right now? And then after that, if they're still saying that basically this is a problem they have, then I'll tell them about some of my ideas for solving this problem, okay? And like maybe you change the problem that you're talking about, depending on them or what you learn as you go along. But essentially what you want to end up with is about like 3 ideas for products that can solve this core problem, okay? And then you're gonna talk to your friends, and after you've talked to all of them and kind of talk to like people who know what the problem is, you want to end up with like one kind of idea, and you want to have a lot of conviction because that's kind of fuel for working on your product. Finally, we have posting and getting deposits. So I'll just put some bullet points here. I'm gonna make YouTube videos. I don't know, probably Facebook group posts. Reactivate current customers. So I'll talk to my current customers about it. I will post in the ideas board for high level. And these are just some of the ideas. I have some other ones as well. But basically, try to get like as many people as possible to talk to about this idea, and really figure out like at this point you're kind of trying to sell them. So you ask them about their problem, you see how they're solving it. You're still gathering some information, but as long as it sounds like it's a good fit, you're going to try to sell them this kind of idea. And it's okay if it's kind of a lofty idea. It's not going to have a lot of implementation details specifically, but you can create like a demo or a video or just like a mock-up, and you show it to them and you say, I mean, you can get into the specifics or whatever, but do you feel like this would solve your problem? Why do you feel like it would? Blah, 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 until they say, this is awesome, dude. When is this coming out? When can I get this? Or something along those lines, ideally. And then you say, look, it's not out yet. In fact, I haven't even started working on it. But what I can do is I can sell you early access. So $97 right now, or $197 or $297 or whatever. I'll sell you this, and you'll get a lower subscription. You'll get early access as I'm building the product, and you'll get a say in how it's built. And I believe this is going to be the way that I move forward with most of my products, especially if it's something that's a big swing. Like, I'm trying to make this next product a big swing. I want to get at least like $5,000 a month in revenue from this next product. And this is how you do it. So I'm going to charge, ideally I want to collect like at least $1,000, like 10 customers or something. And those are going to be my early testers, and that's also going to be my validation. If people are willing to put down money for a product that doesn't even exist yet, that is very strong validation, okay? Because with my last product, I had people messaging me before I built it like, hey, I really like this map thing. When can I try it out? Or that's not exactly what they said, but they said something along the lines of, yo, this map is sick, how did you build it, blah, blah, blah. And I took that as validation. It wasn't fucking validation. And so I really think that taking money from people is actual validation, getting on a call with them and seeing why they want it. Because you have to remember that these ideas, they have to solve for a specific problem. It's not just that it's a cool idea. I think I was watching a video by this. Actually, I think he's pretty similar to what I'm doing, but he had a really good video about validating SaaS ideas, and he was basically saying that trying to remember what he was saying. Basically, you got to solve a problem, and taking people's money is the best way to kind of validate that. Um, and yeah, someone texting you or responding or commenting like, "Yo, this is super sick," that's not validation, you know. So, anyways, that's kind of my 4-step plan here. I'm still working on kind of finding a problem and thinking about some ideas. I've got a really cool idea that I'll probably bring up on the channel pretty soon here. But I still, have to do this step now, which is talking to my friends and kind of figuring out what they think I should focus on, given that they're actually the ones who would be using the product. So, yeah, and then I wanted to bring up one more thing, which is kind of on this topic of the problem. Okay, so how do you pick your problem? Because your problem is going to define your ideas, and it's going to define every single step of this whole process. So it'd be cool if you could find a good problem, right? And I want to talk about 3 different kind of things to think about. So first is TAM. Hopefully you've heard of TAM. This is total addressable market. And if you think about cell phones, everyone basically has a cell phone. You sell it for $800. So, if there's 300 million people in the US, excuse my face, 300 million people in the US times $800, that's $240 billion. That seems really high. But basically, if everyone buys an $800 phone every year, it's $240 billion. That's your TAM, okay? So you want to pick a problem that a lot of people have, right? Having, access to the internet and directions and all these things, those are problems that most people have, and so phones are ubiquitous. So you want something with a big TAM, all right? If I haven't beaten that to death enough. Now, you also want something that is, let's say, gap. Let's just keep with these 3-letter terms for now. You want there to be a gap in the solution, okay? And the example I thought of today was, if you think about before the iPhone came out, everyone had smartphones, or flip phones, and there was a gap there, right? Because you have your flip phone and you can have it on you, and it's great. It makes phone calls, and maybe you have those fancy slide phones where you can text. But there was a bit of a gap between what that could do and what kind of, I guess, Steve Jobs in his ever moved. That's terrible. Whatever Steve Jobs saw, he saw that the problem could have a better potential solution. And so if I think about I want to go into a new industry, let's solve a problem. If I thought about the problem of transportation, this is probably a bad example, but if you look at a car, it's a pretty good product. It's got wheels, it's got an engine, you go to the gas station, you fill it up. It's pretty good, okay? Most people buy a car because it's pretty good. And so there's not a lot of gap there. But what I'm saying is you want a problem where you can look at the current solutions, because if you go to build a product, let's go some small text here. No solutions equals bad. All right. So if you're trying to build a product or solve a problem, and you go to look for potential solutions to that problem, and there's no solutions, it's not a problem, or it's not worth much money. You want it to actually be a problem that people are already solving, whether it's something they do themselves to solve it or whether they pay someone to do it. You want there to be pain, because that's what causes people to go out and solve it, either by paying money or doing something. So you need there to be already solutions, and then imperfect, okay? Because if those solutions are also not as good as they could be, that means that you could come in and design a perfect solution. Not perfect, obviously, but close, right? Closer than what is out there. So that's the idea behind finding a gap. And then I suppose we could say, marketable. I was thinking the last one is kind of how marketable is the idea, but that kind of relates to TAM, because how marketable is this? Because if you're selling a fucking smartphone, like we just talked about, everyone has a goddamn smartphone. So your TAM is huge, and if you run a fucking Super Bowl ad, basically everyone who sees it is going to be, a potential customer. Whereas if you think about something like Squarespace runs a lot of ads. I was surprised to see them advertising on, what was it? I was watching some YouTube video and it was like Joe Rogan. I think it was Joe Rogan on his podcast. They were advertising Squarespace. If you want to build a website for your business, then Squarespace is the place to do it. And that's an example of not the best advertising, because if you think about it, that ad is running to everyone who's listening to the podcast, but there's only so many businesses, only, 10%, maybe 5% of the listeners are actually kind of business owners who would consider that offer. And you're still paying the same amount regardless to Joe Rogan, whether that ad applies to everyone or just one person. And so if your idea is a smaller TAM, it's going to be harder to advertise. So you want something that applies to as many people as possible while still having a gap in solutions. And yeah. All right, that's the video. Yep.